The time has come to spill the tea on my Iceland trip. I'm Jackie, and you're watching Disney Channel. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jackie if you're new here. If you've watched my previous video, you know that I just came back from Iceland with EF Ultimate Break. I went on their Iceland summer escape trip and it was amazing, but looking back at my vlog, I realized I didn't really go into detail about anything really. So I know the details are really important for anyone that's interested in EF Ultimate Break and is kind of skeptical or on the fence about booking a trip with them. So I wanted to make sure that I take the time and review my trip and just go into detail. While I was on my trip, I made sure to take notes on my phone that are on my iPad that I'll be referencing during this video to make sure that I hit all the points that I wanted to hit. And yeah, we're just gonna do this. Let's get into it. So first I want to talk a little bit about my previous tour with EF Ultimate Break, my first trip with them. It was in December 2019 and I went to London, Paris, Rome for New Year's Eve. So 2019 going into 2020. That was amazing and I feel like it really set the bar really high for whatever trip would come next. Shortly after that trip I booked Greece, but because of the pandemic, because of new jobs, because of life, I've been having to keep pushing it back and it's currently booked for 2023, so that should be happening. We'll see, fingers crossed, but yeah, next year. But I didn't want to wait all the way till September for the Spain trip that I have booked with my best friends, so I ended up booking Iceland because it's their shortest trip and it ended up working for my schedule because it was during a long weekend, so I only had to ask for 2 days off of work and it just worked. So I ended up booking Iceland. But like I said, my first trip was just amazing and the bar was set really high, so I was a little bit disappointed with the communication prior to our Iceland trip. Yes, we had our Facebook group prior to the trip as we were supposed to, but I feel like our tour director for Iceland was just, she didn't communicate as much as my first tour director did, which I'm sure there were just two different types of trips, and for Iceland I feel like you didn't really need that much of like preparation, so I guess it didn't end up being a big deal. But I was freaking out a little bit because I was so used to the communication that I was getting with my first tour director, which was like constant communication, constant tips, constant like heads up, constant like here's the WhatsApp group, let's all chat. Also, the people in my group for the first trip were always communicating. We had constant posts talking about outfits, talking about plans, talking about making separate group chats. So we made group me's, we were constantly talking. So I felt like I kind of knew these people before going on my trip and I had friends and I was just not worried going into my first trip. Whereas for Iceland, that Facebook group was radio silent. There were a few posts here and there talking about our departure times and stuff like that, but no one really spoke. So at this trip I was truly getting the solo travel experience. I went in there blind, but it ended up working out. Everyone was amazing. I'll go into that later, but yeah, I was so worried. It made me so worried that I was going into that trip blind, but it went well. So going back to this communication thing, there wasn't a WhatsApp group prior to going on the trip. There was actually never one created at all. So, well, by our tour director. So it was the day before we were scheduled to leave and I was kind of freaking out because I didn't have instructions of what to do when I got to the airport. Whereas my first tour, like I said, always communicating. He sent us a map of the airport where we were supposed to meet, like exactly what was happening, what to say when we got to the transport area, like the groups that we were departing in to go to the hotel, like everything. So of course it's probably because London was such a huge airport, like we needed all this stuff. But yeah, night before I was supposed to leave for Iceland and I had no idea what I was supposed to do when I got to the airport there. So I was a little nervous because I don't know, maybe I like to know all the details beforehand, but yeah, I was really nervous. So anyway, it ended up working out. Like I said, everything was fine. So you know, you have like a whole day of travel basically. So the night of our travel day, our tour director posted in the group and said that we would be looking for a sign when we got to the arrival, she called it the arrival hall. So in my head I was like, cool, I'm gonna look for an EF ultimate break sign. There's gotta be a sign. She said there's gonna be a sign, so there's gonna be a sign. I knew there was people also arriving around the same time as me, so I knew I wasn't gonna be alone looking for the sign. But like I said, since there was no communication in the group prior, I didn't know who those people were and what they look like and like how many of us there was gonna be. Like I said, going into it blind, but it ended up working out. Anyways, let's get into that. So my first flight was LAX to Portland, and that was fine, no problems. As you guys know, I tried so hard to pack just in a carry-on and backpack because I didn't want to check a bag. That was my big thing, and I'm an overpacker, and that was really hard for me. So I get to Portland and I go to the gate that luckily ended up being in the same terminal that I landed in, which was really weird because domestic and international flights are in 2 different terminals in Portland. And the lady was like, actually, I remember seeing Iceland Air down at the last gate in this terminal, so you got lucky. And I was like, okay. So got to the gate, everything was fine. Then the people at the desk were like, oh, bring up your carry-on luggages because we have to measure them and put these tags on them before you get onto the plane. That's never happened to me, because if you tell me that I'm allowed a carry-on and a backpack and a personal item, then I'm taking a carry-on and a personal item. But they measured it. Like, you literally had to put your luggage into the measuring thing. So my carry-on luggage was too big, which is weird because I feel like it's a basic normal carry-on size, but a lot of people had to check their carry-ons, which I was a little upset about because I had tried so hard not to check a bag. But I wasn't too nervous because this was the flight to Iceland, so I knew I wasn't gonna get lost. That was my biggest fear. That's why I didn't want to check a bag, because I didn't think it would make it onto my connecting flight. So if it had to happen, I'm glad it happened on the Iceland Air flight. So yeah, that was the only thing I was kind of pissed. But anyways, got to the gate, they checked my bag, had to check it, still good with the backpack, and they scanned my passport once I got to the Iceland Air gate. Luckily, I got a window seat for this flight and not a middle seat. It was completely full, so yeah, very glad I got a window seat. One thing that I was really surprised about, which maybe I just don't travel enough, there was no meals provided. They came around for snacks, and you can buy sandwiches, but you had to buy everything. Like, nothing was free, which is, I don't know. When I go to Panama, I travel with Copa, and they supply you like at least 2 meals each way, and it's all free. And even the alcohol is free on those flights. And when I went to London, they also provided meals, and when I came back from that trip, I was also provided meals. So I was just really thrown, and I was not prepared for that because I was freaking starving. So I ended up buying a $12 ham and cheese sandwich. Subpar cold sandwich. So yeah, if you're traveling Iceland Air, just be prepared. Food is not included. I could probably look this up, and I probably could have been a little more prepared, but yeah, I didn't, and I was very upset. Not upset, disappointed. Okay, so I didn't end up sleeping on my flight. I don't know why. I really needed to, because it was overnight in Iceland time, but it just didn't align with my time zone, so I was just not sleepy, and yeah, didn't sleep. But you guys know that Airfly, let me get that, hold up. Okay, so if you watched my packing video, you saw me talk about this Airfly Duo, I think it was called. It's not focusing. Anyways, this Airfly Duo thing, lifesaver, because nothing was free on that flight, so they did not give headphones, and I was not about to buy headphones that I'm never going to use ever again. So yeah, I was able to connect this to the entertainment thing and use my AirPod. A+, best purchase ever. 10 out of 10 recommend. They had really good movies. I ended up watching The Greatest Showman, which is my favorite movie ever, and a couple others, which, oh, The Notebook, I'm pretty sure, and like, yeah, I didn't sleep like I said, so I just watched a whole bunch of movies. I did at one point try to sleep, couldn't do it. Okay, so flight went well. I land at the airport in Iceland. The lines for their immigration, or like passport check area, was long, and yeah, it took quite a long time, and I was worried that I was gonna get left because I didn't know how the transport really worked, because we didn't really get many details, like I said. But yeah, I was a little worried. Finally got through that, went to baggage claim, and by the time I got to baggage claim, my bag was already off of the belt and just sitting there, you know, where they stack them all up waiting for you. So my bag was already out and I was like, whew, what a relief, my bag made it. Then I went to the ATM to get cash because you do tip your tour guide and your bus driver at the end of your tour, and any local guides, which this trip we didn't have any local guides. So I just tipped my tour director and the bus driver, but I wanted to make sure I had cash and at least some cash just in case places didn't take card, which wasn't the case anywhere. They took card everywhere and I used my card everywhere. So by the end of the trip, I was like, oh my gosh, I have all this cash and I'm not gonna use it. So I was kind of freaking out. So pro tip, Iceland, you don't need cash. Just budget to tip your tour director and your bus driver because you will not need cash for spending money. So I got my cash and then I was walking out to the arrival hall. So in my head I was like, okay, cool, look for an EF ultimate break sign. Went out, did not see an EF ultimate break sign, so I was like, okay, maybe I'm early, let me stand off to the side and wait and see if anyone walks in with an EF ultimate break sign. And I kept looking at the other people coming out into the hall and seeing if they looked as lost as I was, because maybe they were from EF ultimate break and I can make friends and be lost together. That's what I did. I waited there for a while, and then finally a girl from my trip ended up coming up to me and she was like, this might be a weird question, but are you with EF ultimate break? And I was like, yes. And she was like, do you know what we're supposed to be doing and who we're supposed to be looking for? And I was like, no. So we both stood there for a hot minute waiting for an EF ultimate break sign, and it never came. And then we were standing there, she's like, what did you say your name was again? And I was like, Jacqueline. She was like, okay, so what's your last name? And I told her, and then she's like, is that your name on that guy's phone right there? Because the people that were waiting for arrivals, some of them had like iPhones, little tiny iPhones with like a whole bunch of names on them. So I didn't really look at those because I didn't expect my specific name to be on the sign, much less on a phone. But I was like, wait, that kind of does look like my name, but I couldn't really see it because it was far and it's an iPhone and it was tiny. So I was like, okay, let me approach this guy. So I walk up to the guy and I was like, oh, I'm Jacqueline. It was my name. He was like, okay, so he deletes it. And the girl that actually came up to me, her name wasn't on there because she was supposed to be on a later flight, but she had to rebook and ended up on my flight. And so our tour director actually told her that if our transport guy had room, she could just go with us. Luckily, there was only 3 of us in the first transport, so she was able to come in. There was 4 of us. And the last guy came and found his name right away. So then we were good to go. And we headed to the hotel, which was 45 minutes away. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. We get to the hotel, get dropped off. We walk in and there's the front desk. So we just went and checked in, but we were the first ones there. Our flights landed around 6 a.m. So we got to the hotel around 7-ish. And no, a little after 7-ish probably. I don't remember exactly the time, but it wasn't check-in time by any means. So we checked in and they were like, okay, well, obviously the rooms aren't ready, but we have lockers for you guys to put your bags. And so we put our bags in the lockers and they give you like, it's kind of like a room key. You put the stuff in whatever open locker there is and you use your room key to close it, and that programs it so that only your room key can open that locker again. So that was pretty cool that we had a place to put our luggage that was secure and that I could just access super quick. I didn't have to ask anyone to open any doors for me to like get stuff. So the 4 of us that arrived first put our stuff away and started exploring right away because we knew that everyone else wouldn't get there till later, like a couple hours. So we were like, hey, let's go look for some breakfast or something. We were thrown because everything in Iceland opened so like late. Most of the coffee shops open at like at 9, where we're used to like Starbucks opening at 4 a.m. There was nowhere for us to go really, so we just walked around aimlessly for a bit. We ended up by the harbor and there was a restaurant called Roast that had coffee and was open. So we went in there, all got some type of coffee because we knew it was gonna be a long day. I hadn't slept, and the others I don't think had slept either, or like barely slept. So we all got coffee. I will say everything in Iceland is expensive, so the coffee was pricey and it was like this big. I am not even exaggerating. It was this big. I'll probably insert a picture if I can. It was tiny. Ended up getting a sandwich, their tomato and mozzarella sandwich, but it ended up being like, you know, like avocado toast where it's just a toast and like the stuff on top. That's what it was like, which I was not expecting, but it was a big portion, so I was happy because I was hungry. And yeah, we ate. We sat there for a hot minute just talking, getting to know each other, and then we walked around Reykjavik for, I would say, like an hour or so, and then went back to the hotel. We waited for the rest of the people to arrive, and when they did, our tour director came because she was actually there for the last transport, so she met them at the airport because there was the majority of the people on my trip all showed up together. There were actually a lot of them on the same flight, so she ended up going to the airport to meet that last group of transport people. So when they arrived, she arrived, and the rooms still weren't ready, so she had everyone leave their stuff, and then we went on our formal city walk. So our city walk is exactly what it sounds like. It's a walk around the city just to get our bearings, and she explained a lot of things and gave us history about a lot of things, and it was really cool. A lot of us got to know each other during that walk, and yeah, it was just the beginning of a great trip. Yeah, I would say that lasted around 3 hours, maybe 2.5-ish. Then we went back to the hotel and we had some time before our welcome dinner, so most of us slept and showered and just got ready, while few people did go, like, showered really quick and then met up again and then left to go explore. But like I said, the 4 of us who had arrived early had already done the exploring, so we were fine with sleeping and getting some rest. So yeah, I tried to nap, as you guys saw in my vlog. Wasn't very successful, but showered, just rested a bit, and then a group of like 3 of us met up a little before dinner so that we can walk around a bit, nothing crazy, and then we made it to the dinner. Dinner was at a hotel right by the harbor. There was a restaurant inside there, I don't remember the name. Before the trip, we had gotten an email with our dinner options. There was a fish, there was a lamb, and there was a vegetarian. I wasn't sure if I like lamb, and I wasn't gonna get the vegetarian, so I ended up getting fish. It was really good. We had the choice of wine or beer, or like soft drinks if you wanted them. So I did get wine, I had my fish, and it was all really good. And then we had, I think I had chocolate cake for, yeah, I had chocolate cake and ice cream for my dessert, while the people that chose lamb got a pear type of dessert. It was, I had never seen anything like that. It was literally like half a pear, and it was like grilled, like cooked. They said it was good, but it was just different. I had never seen something like that. But yeah, everyone was happy with their dinner. I did try my friend's lamb, ended up liking it, fan of lamb. So after dinner, the majority of the group actually stuck together the entire trip, which was really weird to me because in my first trip, there was definitely cliques. Like, I had no issue with that because I had my group of friends that I didn't mind that we weren't all hanging out together. We did have outings where a lot of us were together, but it was never the entire group going out when we didn't have to. But this trip, everyone was super close. This is what I really freaking liked about this trip. Everyone was super close. We all hung out basically all the time, and it was just great. So like I said, a big group of us left after dinner and walked around, and we ended up coming across a rooftop bar and chilled there for a bit. Went to like this hill that we wanted to go to and like sit in the sun, but it was shady by the time we got there, so there was no sun to really sit in. Took some pics, which I can insert here. It was really cute, really fun. After that, some people went to bed because it was late, but it didn't seem like it because the sun was out. It was really throwing us all off. But a little group of us, I would say like 8 of us, kept on exploring. We ended up going to this area that was kind of like gated off. I'm pretty sure we weren't supposed to be there, but it was these rocks next to the shore where we got to watch the sunset. It was setting, but it never got dark. After that, we went to a store that was open 24 hours, luckily, because one of the people on my trip, her bags didn't make it, so she needed the basic essentials. She needed a toothbrush. Some people wanted snacks, so I went to the store, got all that, headed back to the hotel. I have a story about that. This was on a Saturday, so as we were walking back, I don't remember if it was to that store or back to the hotel, we were passing a whole bunch of locals on their Saturday night out, and it was so weird because the sun is still out, and you'll pass like clubs and the music is bumping and the sun is still out. Like, I'm so not used to that. Like, I don't go out till the sun comes down. Like, that's what I'm used to, right? But no, they were out, and that was normal to them, obviously. But yeah, it was weird for me, definitely. Went back to the hotel, went to bed, There was no AC in the rooms, like I mentioned in my vlog if you watch that, and it's a normal thing for Europe. There's usually not AC, but we arrived in Iceland during a very rare heat wave for them, so it was warm and our room was really warm. So by the time I got to bed, it was just too hot and I knew I wasn't going to be able to sleep, so I took a really cold shower and then laid in bed and knocked out. So that was a little recap about my travel day and day 1. Now let's get into day 2. So we had an 8:30 meeting time. So I got up at 7:30 and had breakfast at the hotel. So the hotel does have the usual hotel breakfast, fruit, eggs, bacon, toast, yogurt, juices, coffee, like what you would expect from hotel breakfast. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great, normal hotel breakfast. Yeah. So this first day, my roommate wasn't awake when I left for breakfast, and I was like, hey, maybe she's sleeping in, maybe she doesn't want breakfast. I was like, ooh, I haven't seen her come downstairs though. We had 10 minutes till our meeting time, and I was like, oh shoot, let me go check on her. This girl was still sleeping, so good thing I went up and checked on her, because I was able to wake her up, and I was like, hey, we're leaving in 5 minutes, I'm not sure if you're coming, because of course you always have the option to skip out on the group activities. So I was like, maybe she doesn't want to come, but luckily I woke her up because she did want to come. We got in the bus and headed to the national park, which was where the tectonic plates were. So where the North America plate meets the Eurasian plate. So you're basically in 2 places at once, which is really cool. It was about an hour drive to get there, which was great because I caught up on sleep. I slept the entire way. We had about an hour to walk around once we were there and explore. We took a lot of pictures. Then we got back on the bus. We made 2 photo stops on the way to the geyser, which was the next stop on the itinerary, like the actual itinerary that you see online. Yeah, on the way there we made 2 photo stops because it was about an hour drive, so it broke it up into little smaller pieces. Then at the geyser there was lunch included. We got there, you walk through the gift shop into the back where they have like a cafe type thing. There, our tables were reserved. They were all set up for us, which was nice. We sat down, and then it was kind of like a buffet style lunch, but it wasn't ready for us when we got there. So they came around with cream of asparagus soup, and it was delicious, which I wasn't expecting because that just sounds weird, but it was good. They left like these big tins of it in the middle of the table, and there was bread, so we were picking out on that before our food was ready at the buffet. Once the buffet was ready, there was like a carver carving some type of meat. I'm pretty sure it was probably lamb. There was potatoes, there was all sorts of things. I don't really remember what else, but there was a lot of options, and there was dessert as well. So I remember there was like a chocolate mousse that I had, and watermelon. Very good, hit the spot. For drinks at lunch, we had the option of a bunch of sodas and water. So yeah, that was lunch. It was good. It included, which I didn't really look at the itinerary much before I booked it, so I didn't really know that a couple of the lunches were included, but yeah, that one was included. It was good. And once we finished eating lunch, we had time to go explore the geyser. You don't really need much time to explore the geyser unless you're going to go hiking past them, which it was too warm out, which I did not expect about Iceland. But like I said, we got there during a really rare heat wave, so it was really warm. We didn't really feel like walking all the way up there, so we saw the active geyser, and we saw a couple of the inactive geysers, dormant geysers, what do they call it, something like that, and then headed back to the gift shop to do a little bit of shopping before we had to meet back at the bus. Then we headed to the second waterfall, which was hold up, my notes are wrong. We headed to a waterfall, which I will not attempt to say the names, I will just insert them. Which waterfalls they were. It was beautiful. There was rainbows, and it was just amazing. There was like different levels to view it. The first level, which is up high from above, then you walk down a little, you can see it from like the side view, and then you walk down and you can see it from like the top and where the water falls down. It was just great. It was amazing. So crazy to see it in person because it literally looks like a scene out of a movie or like a postcard or something. Freaking camera's about to die. I'm getting nervous. We had time to shop at that gift shop as well. I bought some salt. I don't know. Bought some salt and some other stuff. On the way back to the hotel, we made a stop at a crater, which wasn't part of the initial itinerary, but our tour guide gave us the option to see if we wanted to stop there, and most people did, so we did, and it ended up being amazing. I'm glad we did. We had around 45 minutes to explore there. You can walk down all the way to the water, and you can make a little trek above the crater as well, and I'll insert some pictures. It probably doesn't make sense when I'm explaining. When we got back to Reykjavik, it was so cloudy and misty and kind of cold, which was really a big contrast from the weather that we experienced during the day. We got back to the city, dropped our things off, we freshened up a little bit, and then we met up and we had free time. So a little core group of like 8 to 10 of us went to the revolving sushi restaurant that was close to our hotel for dinner. Ended up being so cool. So the revolving sushi, if you haven't gone, comes on a conveyor belt, and you grab the plate, whatever you're interested in, and the color of the plate determines the price of what you're getting. And then at the end, you take all your plates to the counter and pay, depending on how many plates you have and what color they are. I'll insert a pic of all of our plate stacks by the end of dinner. It was cool. People were craving sushi, so their craving was satisfied. I didn't really have a preference. I just knew that I wanted to try lobster soup at some point, and I got the chance to do that later on in the trip, which I'll talk about. But yeah, revolving sushi for dinner, and then we ended up exploring a bit and ended up at a bar called the Dubliner. It's like a little Irish pub in Iceland, and we made friends with the bartender. My camera died, but like I was saying, we made friends with the bartender. He was from Italy. He was super cool. We called him Michael because his name was sort of like Michael, but it was like fancy, like Mikael or something. So yeah, we called him Michael, and we ended up going out with him the following night. Yeah, that was a wrap of day 2. I just had like a beer. I had a Guinness at that Irish pub, and we sat outside. Like I said, it was misty and cold, so we didn't really last long there, but we were all really tired, so we just had a couple drinks. We ended up meeting another American. He lives in Iceland now, and so he was just telling us about his life and asking us questions, talking about how terrible the US is and all that stuff. So yeah, we stayed there for a little bit doing that and then went to bed. So day 3, our meeting time was 8:15, so I got up around the same time and had breakfast at the hotel again. Then we got in the bus, and it was a 2-ish hour drive to our first destination, which was a waterfall, which again, I'll put the names in here because I'm not even gonna attempt it. But on the way there, we had a bathroom break around halfway through. It was like a gas station type place, but they had these like famous Icelandic rolled up pancakes with sugar. That's basically what they were. They were delicious. I am sad I didn't take any pictures of it, but I bought 2 of those and then got back in the bus, slept some more. We got to the first waterfall, which was my favorite part of the trip. When we got to that waterfall, me and my other friend Jackie, the other Jackie, Miami Jackie, put on our waterproof gear because we were prepared, and we had around 45 minutes to explore that waterfall. This was the waterfall that we were able to walk behind, so we knew we were gonna get wet. We ended up getting soaked because we did end up like walking right under the stream of water, which you didn't have to do, but even the people that didn't go all the way down there did get pretty wet. Yeah, so definitely recommend waterproof clothes. Like I said in my packing video, it's a must. I was so thankful that I was prepared. Yeah, so we did that. Favorite part of my trip. It was so cool, such a unique experience. After that, we headed to the glacier, which again wasn't part of the actual itinerary, but our tour director had us stop there because it was a cool view. It was like a 15-minute drive from the first waterfall, and we walked around a bit. There wasn't really much to see there. We just walked down to get closer to the glacier and then walked back because you can't really walk past a certain point without like ice picks and helmets and like being in a organized tour group that you buy from them. So yeah, we weren't doing that. We just went down, took pictures, and went back. Then we headed to the second waterfall, which again, I'll put the name, and had lunch there. It was not included, and honestly, it was my least favorite meal of the entire trip. There were reserved tables when we got there, but the staff was rude. They were giving us attitude. for no reason, which was weird because everyone we had met in Iceland was so freaking nice besides these people. Yeah, so that was already off-putting. And then the options weren't the greatest. I ended up getting a burger and fries because I wanted the fries, and it was good, but it was really messy. Like it had too much sauce and whatever. But anyways, I ate that. And this was the waterfall with the tons and tons of steps to the top viewing area. It was a beautiful waterfall. I'll insert a clip or a picture, whatever works best. But yeah, there was a lot of steps to the top. I was a little worried because I'm not in the best shape, but ended up making it. It wasn't too bad. The way down was even easier, obviously. But the steps did like rock a little, and it was a little nerve-wracking, but we made it down. Everyone did well. We got there, came back. In my vlog, I couldn't remember what the heck we did third or last on that day, and it was the black sand beach. We went to the black sand beach. It was like a 20-ish minute drive from that last waterfall, and my battery is flashing again. And we had around 40 minutes to explore there. It's beautiful. We saw a puffin. We were taking videos and pictures of a puffin. The rock formation is really cool. The black sand is just weird to like experience, but you cannot get near the water because the current is just super strong, and it's known that people they like drown there. So there are lots of warnings. Tour director told us a lot. Anyone that we told that we were going to the black sand beach gave us the warning, like, you do not get near the water. So yeah, that's what we did there. And then we got back into the bus. We had around a 2-hour drive back to the city, and we all slept the whole way basically. And that's the night I got to try the lobster soup. We went to the Sea Baron. I bought a shrimp skewer and a lobster soup, and it came with lots of bread. 10 out of 10 recommend the Sea Baron. It was delicious. I don't even like seafood like that, but it was so freaking good. Then we went to the American bar. This bar is super cool. It's American themed. We sat outside, had a couple drinks. Those drinks were delicious. They didn't taste like alcohol, which is dangerous, but yeah. Then we met our other friends. They were at a bar across the street called Jungle Bar. It was pretty bougie in there, really cute. We had a drink there. This was when we all, like, the whole group came together, and there was like 20 of us in this bar. Then we headed back to American Bar because they had this wheel that you pay 2,500 krona, is that the currency, for, and then you spin it and you get to win beers or shots or something. I won 1 beer, but at least I didn't lose, so that's good. And yeah, so we did that and then we went to bed. Now I'll talk about day 4. Okay, I'm just gonna record the rest of my phone, even though this quality is probably terrible compared to my camera, because I want to finish this before I go to the gym, which, by the way, I started going to Orange Theory, and I will make a review about that once I go to a couple more classes. But loving it so far. Anyways, I digress. Day 4. This was our last actual full day of the trip. We had half a day of free time, and then the second half was the Blue Lagoon. So since the first half was free time, we ended up deciding to sleep in a little bit. Some of us met up around 9-ish. We went shopping, and we went to the top of the big famous church in Reykjavik, which again, I will put the name because I'm not going to attempt it. This was the only day that it was rainy and cold. Luckily, I had an umbrella. Again, another tip, bring an umbrella, because I was one of the only ones that did, so I was prepared. But it wasn't too bad. So we went to the top of the church. It was cool. You pay like, I don't remember how much, but it wasn't much to go to the top. The bells go off like every 15 minutes or so, so we stayed up there till the bells went off. It was loud. It scared me, but the view was great, and it was just a cool experience. Then we met up with the rest of our friends and ended up going to get lunch at this food hall, which I would compare it to like a food court in the mall. Tons of little kiosks with different options for food. I ended up getting fish and chips, and they were so good. Maybe I was just hungry, but they were so freaking good. Then we went back to the hotel to get our stuff ready to go to the Blue Lagoon. On our way to the Blue Lagoon, we had to go get COVID tested because the US at this point was still requiring, I know that as of yesterday they're not requiring COVID tests to come back, but while I was on my trip it was still required, so we had to go get COVID tested, which EF organized for us. So all we had to do was really show up. Our tour director had us register like the day before, told us what time to put, told us what location to put, and then we just showed up. It was so quick, so quick. We showed up to the place, we walk in, you go to the front desk and you give them your passport, and they like verify that all your information is correct, and then they send you over to the people that are going to swab you. This was the worst swab of my life. I've gotten COVID tested plenty of times, and this was the worst. I feel like it ended up here, and they only did one nostril, and it was like a super quick and come down. Like they didn't go around, it was just like a stab. Everyone complained about it, so I'm not the only one that thinks it was terrible. It was super quick, so once they checked your passport, you went right over to the person who was already waiting for you. They stabbed you real quick, and then they sent you on your way. And we actually got our results through our emails before we even got to the Blue Lagoon, so it was super quick. I would say like 30 minutes, and then we got our results, which was great because then I had peace of mind and I can just enjoy the rest of my day, know that I was going home because I had a negative test. Yeah, then we got to the Blue Lagoon. This will probably be the longest part of my video because I just have so much to say about this place. It's so magical. So you get there, they give you like this bracelet, kind of. If you're familiar with Disney World, the magic bands, kind of like that. It gives you access to different stuff, and that's how they charge you, so that you don't have to carry like your money or cards with you in the lagoon. They charge your bracelet for any alcohol or food or stuff that you get. But yeah, you get your bracelet, and then they send you up to the locker room. The locker room is also activated with your bracelet, so you choose a locker, you put your stuff in it, then you put your bracelet onto the sensor thing, and it like lock your locker. So before you get into the lagoon, you're actually required to shower completely naked, but they do have individual stalls, so like you're not bathing naked in front of everyone. There are people walking around naked, so that makes you uncomfortable, please, like, here's a heads up. People are walking around naked, it's normal. In the showers, they actually have shampoo, conditioner, and body wash for you, so you don't have to bring your own. I did, but and didn't end up using my own. So you shower naked and then put on your bathing suit. Also, while you shower, the water, although it's really good for your skin, is not good for your hair. So they recommend that you lather it in conditioner and then put it up in a bun sort of thing. Once everyone was done doing that, we all made our way into the lagoon. You walk down this ramp from the inside, so you're not like walking in the cold. I was kind of shocked at how hot the water was. I know that's the point, but I was not expecting it to be as hot as it was as soon as you got in. So there's this ramp inside the building that leads you to a door that leads you outside, which you probably saw in my vlog if you watched it. Then you walk out into the Blue Lagoon, and that's the part of my video that makes it look like it was super crowded when it wasn't. I think everyone just congregates in that little first area waiting for the rest of their friends, but yeah, the rest of the lagoon, there was tons of space. It wasn't super crowded like people say it is. That little clip in my video, I realized, makes it look like it was super crowded when it wasn't. So then you get into the main part of the lagoon. You get, well, I don't know if all tickets include this, but our ticket, I think it does, included one face mask, the silica mask. They have different kinds, but ours included the silica, and then one drink at the bar. So as soon as we got into the lagoon, we went to get our masks. They give you like a scoop of it, you put it onto your face, and I put it on my neck. I put it everywhere because they gave me so much. I was like, I'm not gonna waste this. And then you leave it on for 10 minutes, and then you wash it off with the lagoon water, and it feels really smooth and great, and 10 out of 10 recommend. So that's what we did. And then we went over to the bar to get our free drink. I ended up getting strawberry prosecco, A+. They call it like strawberry sparkling wine or whatever. So freaking good. Then the rest of our group, we all hung out together. All of us were just chilling by the bar. There are little patches of like really hot water while you're like making your way through the lagoon. There's like patches that are way hotter than others, so you can find what type of temperature you're looking for and then just camp out in that little area. It was raining and cold, so we were looking for the warmer patches, but I'm really glad it was raining and cold that day actually, because I don't do well in even like jacuzzis. I get too hot, I get irritated, I can't like stay in like a jacuzzi for too long. So I feel like the fact that it was raining made it bearable, because anytime I got too hot I would just like stand up and get cold and then go back in. So I really like that. I'm not complaining that it was raining at all. I really enjoyed it. The Blue Lagoon is just so surreal. It was worth all the hype. It's beautiful. The pictures turned out great. The rocks around it are black, so it's a big contrast to the milky, like blue white water, and it was just so amazing, like so amazing. They also have saunas and like steam rooms and stuff that some of the group went to. I didn't go to them because I wanted to go shopping. I went to the gift shop and everything is super duper expensive. I ended up spending quite a bit of money there. I got a travel size mask kit that comes with 3 travel sized masks, and I also got lip balm, which is amazing, and I got hand cream, and then it gave me a free mask because I spent so much money. And yeah, so it was amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend the Blue Lagoon. I know I've heard people say that it's overrated. I absolutely don't think it is. I think it is worth all the hype, and it was just one of my favorite parts of the trip, if not my favorite. That waterfall that we got to walk behind is tough competition, but it was amazing. So we left the Blue Lagoon, then we headed back to the hotel to get ready for our farewell dinner. Our farewell dinner took place at a restaurant brewery place that was right down the street from our hotel. We can literally see it if we came out of the hotel. And we had options of beef, lamb, or vegetarian this time, and I got the beef. Although I did like the lamb, I don't think you're gonna need a whole plate of it, so I played it safe and got the beef. It was delicious. And then the dessert was like a rhubarb deconstructed pie type thing. I don't know, it was delicious though. So we all just talked about our trip and about our future trip plans and just enjoyed our last kind of night together. Took some group pictures, said goodbye to our tour director, gave her tip. After that, we headed to the Dubliner again. That's the place, the Irish pub that we made friends with the bartender. And there's this bar next door to the Dubliner that does karaoke on some nights, and I had heard so many good things about it, and everyone else had heard so many good things about it, and all of us were like, oh my god, karaoke. And if you know me, you know that I freaking love to sing, so I was so hyped for this karaoke. Like, this is the one thing that I wanted to do in my free time, was go to karaoke. So we went in there, and it was the most disappointing thing of my life. It was just too crowded. There was a really bad BO smell in the air. People, I feel like, were just too drunk by the time we got there, so like everyone was jumping around, and like the people that sang like took it seriously. Like, it was a performance. There was a stage, and also we couldn't sign up anymore. They closed the sign up. So yeah, it was just not a good time. We ended up being there for like maybe 20 minutes, and then we went back to the Dubliner because it was just too much at that karaoke bar. But then we closed off the night at the Dubliner. I headed back early because I had the earliest departure from the hotel, which was sad. But 2 others in my group that scheduled their own transfer ended up being in my transfer as well, so that was nice. Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of everyone that got to sleep in a little more. My transfer was at 6 a.m. so I got up at like 5:30 to make sure all my stuff was packed and I was ready to go. And yeah, that was day 4. And finally, just my travel day back to the US. Like I said, I had a solo transfer, so my tour director gave me this email. She sent me an email with my ticket for the bus that I was taking to the airport. So what it's called like Airbus or something like that. They picked me up. A small bus picks you up at your hotel or wherever you're staying, and then they take you to like the bus terminal where you get into a bigger bus that takes you to the airport with a whole bunch of other people. So that was painless. It went super quick. Didn't have to wait. I wasn't worried about not making my flight. It worked well. And once I got to the airport, I was just so tired. I didn't exchange my tax forms. You know how you get your money back when you make bigger purchases? I had a couple of those forms that I could have gotten some money back, but I didn't because I was just so tired. I just wanted to go sit at my gate. My plan was to spend the rest of my Icelandic money at the airport and buy more souvenirs because I had a whole bunch left over because I had exchanged too much at the beginning. And then I'm at the store checking out with all my souvenirs, and I can't find the last of my money. I lost like $100 worth of Icelandic money, and I never found it. So someone got really lucky that day, but I never found my money, and I'm sad. So I didn't end up buying much at the airport. I just ended up getting a couple things for the people that I hadn't bought anything for, just with my card. But I was sad because I didn't get to use the rest of my cash because I lost it. The thing that I didn't like is that the gates aren't assigned at all until an hour before your flight. So since my transfer got me there like so early, I was just sitting around waiting for them to assign a gate to my flight. So I was just sitting in like a general area with my sandwich and my smoothie, which wasn't, I mean, it's whatever. And then I get to the gate once they finally assign it, and it's weird because they don't have waiting areas at the gates, or at least not the gate that I was at. It was like weird. It was the weirdest airport experience of my life. And then when it was time to board, everyone boarded at once. So it was so chaotic. It was just weird. Oh, and at this point, I showed you guys in my packing video, I packed like an extra duffel. So I did end up having to use it because I had bought too many things to fit in my bag. So I did have to check my rolling carry-on. So I checked the carry-on, and I actually carried on with me my backpack and the duffel, which the duffel was huge. I wish I would have gotten a smaller one. I was not expecting it to be so big. I was worried that they would make me check the duffel because it was so big, but luckily I was able to like scrunch it down so it looked normal size, and it wasn't an issue. I got on the flight. I ended up having a window seat again on the way back, but my flight was only to Boston, so it was a short flight. I had a 6-hour layover in Boston, and my gate kept getting changed in Boston because it was such a long layover. So I just kept moving around. Then I'm at the gate that they finally assigned my flight, and I hear the JetBlue people announcing for a different flight that wasn't mine. Oh, if you're in groups D and E, just remember that you have to check your bag, check your carry-on bag. You're only allowed one personal item. And I was like, hold on. I've already checked a carry-on, and I have my duffel and my backpack. And my duffel has like a mug and stuff that I bought my grandma. So like I couldn't check that bag. But my boarding pass didn't have a boarding group. So I started to freak out a little bit, and there was still like a couple hours to my flight, and I was like, dude, if I have to check this bag, I would rather know now so that I can consolidate my stuff into my backpack. So I went up to the desk that was boarding another flight, and I was like, I'm not on this flight, but I would like to know what boarding group I'm in because my boarding pass that I was given in Iceland doesn't have a boarding group. And she was like, oh, you just go to the gate where your flight is going to be. I was like, this is the gate where my flight is going to be. And she was like, oh no, this one's going to Tampa. And I was like, yes, I know, but the one after this one is going to LA, and that's my flight. And she was just really confused. She was new. So the girl that was training her kind of got frustrated with her, and she was like, you just look her up in the computer. I felt bad, but she looked me up and she was able to give me my boarding pass. Luckily, I was in boarding group C, so I didn't have to check my bag. I was fine. Got on the flight. I had a middle seat on the way home from Boston to LA, and that's like a 6-ish hour flight, and it sucked. Yeah, not a fun time, but whatever. Made it home. Since I had already gone through customs in Boston, I didn't have to do it when I got to LA, so I just got my bag and met my parents outside. So yeah, that was my trip. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, my little detailed review of my Iceland trip. If you're interested in booking a trip with EF Ultimate Break, make sure to use my link and code, which will be down below in the description. It'll get you $100 off your first trip with EF Ultimate Break, and any money off is great money off. So yeah, make sure to do that. If you have any questions, please drop them down below or reach out to me in my socials. I'm always willing to help, and I just love talking about EF Ultimate Break in general, so if you just want to talk, I got you. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with the rest of my adventures. I have another EF Ultimate Break trip coming in September with my best friends to Barcelona, Ibiza, Valencia. Very excited for that, and I do have a couple more adventures coming up in the summer as well. I'm always doing something. I have some dance festivals that I'm going to be performing at, and my friends and I are always planning random stuff, so I'm sure more videos to come. I still want to do my work from home setup video. I want to do an Orange Theory review. So many things coming up, so make sure to subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do. Yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys.